Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wasaka. You're looking at his bad eye. The eyeball is still there, a part of it, but he can't see. We think maybe he can see some light or shadow, but not makeup. So he's going to twist his head around a lot, check you all out, see who's here in the room. He knows the second we do something different in here. When we were painting the mural last year, the mural behind me, every time he came in, he'd just sit with his back to the audience and stare at the mural. You know, he's an art aficionado, we think. But in any event, he's a male, which means he's smaller than females. In raptors, that's how you tell them apart. The female's always bigger by about 25%. He's also from Florida, which means he's smaller. The farther south you go, the smaller the eagles are. The farther north you go, the bigger they get. You're going to poop, aren't you? He was just showing off. He was so proud of that one. God, give it a little whistle. I could tell, by the way, because the way he started to drop his head. But for instance, in Florida, the average female might be no bigger than 8 pounds and an average male about 6, which is what he weighs. Whereas you go up to Alaska and a female may be 16 or 17 pounds. You know, it's the difference between bikini weather and parka weather, basically, in terms of body mass. In this area, the average female is 10 to 12 pounds, the average male 8 to 10 pounds. He is now full adult coloring, but you'll notice he isn't white. He's got a little bit of variation that's typical of eagles. Even in the wild, though they all look to have bright white heads, most of them have dramatic variation if you could get up close to them. His coloration came after 5 years. He turned into a full, yes, you're a mature man now, and he's now going on 7. So his big talons. Now you'll notice I can get him close, but I don't touch him. Oh yeah, you hearing him out there? Are you hearing him out there? Did you want to show him your wings again? Okay. You want to open?
Yeah,
there you go. All right. Good job. You know there's food behind us, don't you? He wants to go back there and see what the food is. He did have some food this morning, so he may or may not be his normal hungry self. We'll just put it here, make sure you're nice and calm. Are you? Good boy. Yeah. Notice that this is his good eye. The peripheral vision, he has 2 focal points, one that looks out at a 45-degree angle. So all it takes is for me to do this, and he can see it. All right, big guy. There you go. Now he's doing exactly what he'd do in the wild. He'd have killed it with his talons. Holding it in his talons, he'd fly up into a tree where he'd anchor it with his talons. Again, what separates a talon and a claw is talons are capable of holding, where claws are not. So he has talons. Then he digs that sharp point of the beak in, and with powerful neck muscles rips off flesh. He can break bones. He can tear skin. He's kind of picking around the bone, but I'm going to be quiet for a minute because he may decide to break it. Can you hear him ripping the flesh, though? Yeah, you're not going to break that bone. You're going to make me hand feed you, aren't you? All right. But he can break the bone, and he can swallow the bone. In fact, bones are an important part of their nutrition. He may not choose to eat it today, but he may choose to, and we encourage it. On Sunday, we feed them their absolute favorite meal, which is a whole rat. The only thing we take out are the intestines, because they always threw those at you guys in the front row. And rat guts landing on the audience wasn't good for business. But otherwise, the head's there, the tail's there, everything's there, the feet. And they eat the entire thing, dissolving literally everything. The only thing that they cough back up as a pellet the next day is the fur. They need all those nutrients. Yes, question?
What exactly is he?
What's he eating? He's eating part of a rabbit. I gave him the hindquarters today, and this is part of the shoulder, or earlier today. He's eating this with a little more energy than he did this morning. So, you don't see it in him quite as well, but if you go back into the muse after the program, take a look at Donald the golden eagle, where it's really evident. He needs to protect his eyes when he's in there, or in his case, when he's in there digging around for food. Because as he pulls it up, particularly if he's eating fish where the scales fly around, something gets in his eye. He can't do what you and I do. He can't reach. Oh, don't you? You gonna pick it all off? He loves to toss stuff at us, don't you? I don't want that piece, thank you very much. In any event, they have a method of protecting the eyeball and keeping it moist and clean, and that's called the nictitating membrane. They're not the only animal that has it, polar bears have it, but it's sometimes referred to as a third eyelid. It flashes from the front of the eye to the back, and if you watch Donald's eye, you'll see it go, it's sort of a gray-blue color. They can see through it, so they can flash it while they're flying and still, or hunting and still keep eye on prey. They frequently flash it when they go in on the kill, because that protects the eye. And they will flash it when they're eating, to make sure none of the bits of food that they pull up that may fly through the air, or that piece of fur, doesn't end up stuck in the eye. So I can see it well on him, but you'll see it very clearly on Donald and Mew. Yes, sir.
How many times a day do you have to feed them?
How many times do we feed them? We offer them food generally just once. He's being offered twice today because we had so many programs. I needed him for 2 programs. But generally, what we do in the morning is weigh them. Honey, can you stay still? Thank you so much. He just gets nervous if somebody's moving in this direction. Thank you, darling. In the morning we weigh them, and based on their weight, we determine, our Eagle Care staff determines how much they should be given that day. It also depends on where they are in training, what type of food we're giving them. But generally, he's offered about a ½ pound of food a day. As some days we'll give him less and then have him gorged the next day. He may choose, it doesn't happen often, but our birds who have been here longer, like Angel and Harriet, sometimes choose not to eat in a given day. That would never happen in the wild if they had food, but here they've become accustomed to the fact that they will be offered food every day. So if I don't feel like it today, I won't eat. Oh, there goes the bones go down. Now, he has no teeth. He has ridges on his tongue, however, and he can push stuff back with those, with his tongue. He's going to try now to break it apart so that he can get the whole thing down. Anything he can't get down, for instance, when they're eating the rat, sometimes they get so eager to eat it all, they swallow too much, and then they go, and it comes back up, and then they swallow it again, and it comes, it's audience members, well, the kids in the audience love it, they go, cool, and the parents are going, gross, you know, but it varies. Other questions? All right, are you about done, big guy? You just playing with your food? Yes, sir.
Do the Alaskan eagles come, do they migrate anywhere?
Do the Alaskan eagles migrate? They will leave Alaska and move into some of the Yukon Territory, that northern, they'll move through that territory, but all eagles generally return to within 70 miles of where they were born when they are ready to breed. So that keeps populations coming back and growing in those most populous areas.
They can overwinter in that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yep, absolutely. They do not migrate to avoid that. Because in Alaska you can find enough open water with with some of the running streams, but also with the ocean. Yes, honey?
How much bones can a bald eagle eat in a day?
How much bones can they eat in a day? They can eat a total of food of about 2.5 pounds. That food goes into it's okay, honey. That food goes into a sack called a crop. His stomach's only about that big. So he has to store it someplace, and then over hours it drops down in.
He wants you to pick that piece up for him.
You want me to hand feed you, don't you?
There you go.
Yeah, we smell so good when we get home. Fish guts, you know, rat parts, rabbit parts. Any other questions, folks? Yes, sir.
We have a nesting pair on the lake that we go to, and the nest is getting like absolutely huge.
Right.
Is it true that it will kill the tree eventually, or is that just
Yeah.
kind of a wives' tale?
Will a huge eagle's nest eventually kill the tree? It won't kill the tree because they don't burrow into the tree at all. But what can happen with the nest is they become too heavy for the tree. The largest nest ever recorded was in St. Petersburg, Florida. And they could record it perfectly because the tree it was in collapsed under the weight of the nest. And when they measured it, it was 9.5 feet across. It was 20 feet deep. Folks, this is a 10-foot ceiling. So it was double the height of this room, and it weighed over 3 tons. Now, you see why the tree collapsed. It was in. That is a very, very old nest. By the way, when you get nests like that, they become communities. The eagle's only using the top couple of feet. But other birds nest within, lower down in the eagle nest structure. Squirrels nest in it, insects nest in it. So it's an entire community they're looking at. Yeah. Yes, honey?
Why is the blind eye kind of lower than the...
It just appears to droop a little more, honey, and because it's a little open down here from the surgery. Good observation. Yes, honey?
If you drop down there,
He keeps dropping it, right. He keeps dropping it. I don't think he's going to eat it. He's just playing with his food now. Did you ever play with your food? Yes, of course. He's kind of playing with his right now, too. Yes, ma'am?
So with that example of that huge nest, do they just keep layering it up so they only use the top?
Yeah, they just keep layering it up. They come in, put another foot or 2 down, and around, reinforce the outer structure, put another layer in, line that with moss and grasses, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. Yes, ma'am?
So do they always use the same nest, or will other birds use other birds' nests?
Yeah, do they always use the same nest? Yeah, eagles have what we call nest site fidelity. Really, more than being wedded to each other, they're wedded to that nest. They will abandon a nest if they feel it's weak, or if it's what they call a non-productive nest. They haven't had good luck raising a brood in it. Then they'll go and build another nest. But otherwise, they return to the same nest over and over again. Yeah.
Will another eagle go into an abandoned nest?
Will another eagle they may go into an abandoned nest. It depends on what's going on in the territory. Eagles will defend a territory broad enough to give them enough food. So that if an eagle abandons a nest in this tree but builds next to it, they're not going to let another eagle pair come that close. But if they move a mile away, yeah, and the first nest is still intact, another eagle might well take it over. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say goodbye. Come on. Oh, what a good step up that was. You were so good. Yeah. Oh, you don't want a treat. Even though you were good. We are going to say goodbye, but not without asking you to come into the Muse afterwards and say hello to Harriet, our most famous eagle. Harriet, odds are you've seen her. She's been on every television program you can imagine. She has traveled widely, including out to the U.S. Senate. But even if you've never seen her here or on TV, you see her every time you look at that license plate, the Minnesota license plate with the eagle on it. That's our Harriet. She was 17 when she was injured, hit by a car, resulting in the amputation of part of her left wing, and a head injury that means her feathers don't lie down nicely the way his do. Some of them kind of grow straight up. But you will notice, like all supermodels, they airbrushed out that little defect when they took her picture. Of course, just like Vogue. Anyway, she got the honor of being on the license plate that honors our serving men and women because of the work she does. All of our birds are education birds, outreach birds. She, because of her wonderfully placid nature, did a lot of work up at the VA hospital. And as one vet said to me, you know, Carlin, if you have fought for this country, served this country, been wounded in that service, and you're in the hospital, and the symbol of the country comes to say thank you, it's pretty powerful medicine. I cannot tell you how many thank you notes Harriet has gotten. Not us, but Harriet, National Legal Center, and they're from the families of the vets who were so touched by her. In fact, we are told that there is a young man she met years ago up at the VA who had been horrifically wounded, lost the use of his legs, and figured his life was pretty well over. Harriet came to visit him, and he is now learning to handle small raptors at a raptor center in Colorado, we're told. He can't handle the big ones. You do need to be able to stand to handle an eagle for its safety. But he can handle the small ones, and he says that's because of Harriet. Harriet gave him back his life. So we are proud of her. We love her. She's now 32 and retired. We don't ask her to do much except come in and eat every day. But she's in the Muse, and it'd be great if you'd go say hello to her. And he's saying goodbye to you. By the way, this is also, could you please clap for me, is what he's really saying. He loves it. Oh yeah, I'll hold my microphone. We didn't train him, he just is a show-off. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you'll just stay seated till I get him out of the room. But thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the Muse. Bye-bye. Thanks. Go ahead.